Okay, so today we're going to do a couple of things. The first thing that we're going to talk about is how can we add and subtract and multiply and divide fractions. I won't do the whole page because I'm going to just focus on things that we need for this course. I'm not going to go over things that we don't need for this course, okay? So I'm going to pick a few things that we're going to do from this specific worksheet or specific lesson. When we're talking about fractions in grade 11, I don't want decimals, okay? For most parts, you're going to have to use fractions, okay? Unless you're locating on a graph or whatever, then you can change it to decimal so you can locate it. But for most parts, you're going to have to work with fractions, okay? So things that you need to know in fractions, you always have to remember to reduce your fraction to the lowest terms, okay? So for example, if you have 3 over 6, you don't want to leave it as 3 over 6, okay? You need to reduce it to 1 over 2, okay? We always have to give the lowest term. Do you guys remember how you reduce your fractions? So do you guys know how I got 1 over 2 from 3 over 6? Divided them by what? If I divide 3 over 6, that's going to give me a decimal in the calculator, okay? So how can I reduce 3 over 6 to get the 1 over 2? Yeah? So you have to divide by the common factor, okay? So what can I divide 3 by? 1 and 3. Right? That's the only thing you can divide 3 by. Okay? What can you divide 6 by? 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay? What is your greatest common factor here? What's your greatest number that's common between these two factors? 3. So you see that 3 and 3, both 6 and 3 can be divided by 3. Right? So that tells me that if I divide this by 3, and I can also divide this by 3, you have to have a common factor. It has to be the same number that you're dividing your top and bottom by. Okay? 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. Okay? This is how I'm reducing my fraction. Okay? Let's look at another one. Let's look at 21 over 14. I can divide both of them by 7? Mm-hmm. So if I divide this by 7 and this by 7, what do I have left? 3 over 3 over. How do you find, so you're looking for your factors for 21. What can you divide 21 by? You can divide 21 by 1. If you divide 21 by 2, it's not going to work. It's going to give you decimal. 21 divided by 3, right? So that's 7. Can you divide 21 by 4? Can you divide 21 by 5? Can you divide 21 by 6? No. If you divide 21 by 7, we're back to this one, so I've already written this one. Okay? So I know that it's 1, 3, 7, and 21. These are your factors of 21. Okay? Factors of 14, can you divide 14 by 1? And you get 14. Right? I always write the two numbers that multiply to that. Can you divide 14 by 2? What do you get? 7. So I write it on the other side. Can you divide 14 by 3? Can you divide 14 by 4? 14 by 5? 14 by 6? And then 14 by 7, I'm back to this, right? So I'm done. So if you look at these factors, 7 is your greatest common factor. Okay? So this is at the end, when you're done your question, when you've done whatever you need to do, you have to make sure that you reduce, okay, to the lowest terms. Are we okay with that? All right. So let's look at how can we add or subtract fraction. So to add and subtract fraction, find a common denominator. You have to have, you guys know what denominator is. You know where the denominator is, right? So the denominator is in the bottom, okay? So we call this the denominator, and then the top is the numerator. So we're going to have a common denominator. So we have to have a common number for both fractions. So if you look at this, 3 in the first denominator, 4 second denominator. Are they common? No. So I have to make them into common. So you're going to multiply each numerator by the same number. You multiply each denominator to get the common denominator, then add and subtract only the numerator. So let me tell you what you need to do. You're going to count the multiples of 3. What are the multiples of 3? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, right? Okay, we're not going to keep going. Hopefully we can find something common between the 3 and the 4. What are the multiple of 4? Have you found anything common so far? Can I stop? So this is my common denominator, 12. Okay? What do I need to multiply 3 by to give me 12? Good job. What do I need to multiply 3 by to give me 12? 4. So anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So if I multiply the 3 by the 4 to give me 12, then I have to multiply the 2 by the 4 to give me 8. What do I multiply the 4 by to give me 12? By 3. 4 times 3 gives me 12, so that means I have to do the same thing to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. So you see now I have a common denominator, yes? So all what you have to do right now is subtract your numerator. Okay? 8 minus 9. What's 8 minus 9? What is it? Negative 1 all over 12. Denominator stays the same. Are we okay with that? Can I reduce negative 1 over 12? No, because negative 1, that's the lowest thing ever, right? You can't have lower than 1. That's another example. How would you add these two fractions? What are your multiples of 10? Okay. What are the multiples of 5? Have you found anything so far that's common? Okay. So if you look at this, my lowest common is 10. Okay, you have to pick your lowest common multiple. Okay. So if I want to make the first denominator into 10, what do I multiply the 10 by? 1. Technically, I keep it the same because that's the same, right? What do you multiply 5 by to give you 10? Anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 4 times 2 is 8. So at this point, all what I have to do is add my my numerator. So that's 11 over 10. Can I reduce 11 over 10? Factors of 11 are 1 and 11, right? Factors of 10, 1, 2, 5, and 10. There is nothing common. Okay? So the only time you're going to have a common denominator is when you're adding or subtracting fractions. Okay? Are we okay with that? All right. Now, when I'm multiplying fraction, I think multiplying fraction is the easiest of all of them. Okay? When you're multiplying fraction, you're going to have to multiply the numerator by the numerator, and you have to multiply the denominator by the denominator. Okay? So all what you have to do is actually multiply top by top, multiply bottom by bottom. Okay? So if I'm going to multiply 2 over 3, negative 3 times negative 1 over 4, that's going to give me negative 2 over negative 12. Okay? Negative 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Are you okay with that? Is that my final answer? No. What do I have to do? Reduce. Yeah. So what would it be? 1 over 6. I can divide. Now, number 1, if I'm dividing a negative by a negative, what do I get? A positive. So the negative and the negative, they cancel each other. Okay? Then I can divide 2 by 2 and 12 by 2. Right? Both of them can be divisible by 2. So that gives me 1 all over 6. Are we okay with this? All right. If I'm dividing fractions, it's kind of similar to multiplying fractions. There's one extra step that we have to do first. Okay? The first step is you want to flip the second fraction. So you're going to flip the second fraction, and then you're going to multiply. Okay? So what happened is I leave my first fraction as is. I change my division into multiplication, and I flip my second fraction. So that becomes 4 over negative 3. Are we okay with this? And now since I'm multiplying, I multiply top by top, bottom by bottom. Okay? So that's going to give me negative 8 over negative 15. Can you reduce this? Can you simplify the negatives? Do I need 2 negatives? No, right? Because negative and negative, they cancel each other, right? So that is 8 over 15. 8 can be divided by 1, 2, 4, and 8. That's it, right? 15 can be divided by 1, 3, 5, and 15. So there's no common there. One is never considered a common because 1 is common for everything. Okay, so the answer for this is 8 over 15. We're good? So the converting fraction to a decimal, I don't really care about. It's just because you're going to put this in the calculator, do 3 divided by 25, get it in decimal. Okay? You can do that right now and then tell me what 3 over 25. There's no, you're never going to be like, you're not going to use a calculator, right? So what's 3 divided by 25? Yeah, so just put it in the calculator as 3 divided by 25, and that's going to give you the answer. Okay? I'm going to skip the decimals and fractions because we're not going to do that. But what we're going to do is something that I need you guys to know is going from percent to decimal and going from decimal to percent. Okay? So if I have 79%, what does that mean?
$79 out of 100.
That's right. So 79 out of 100. That's what percentage mean. Right? So if I want you to find this in decimal, what do? Divide 79 by 100, and what do you get?
0.79.
Good. So anytime you want to find your percentage into a decimal, you're going to have to divide by 100. That's what the word percent means. Per 100. Okay? I wonder if this comes from the French word cent. I don't know. It just came to my mind. We're good? Now, if I want to convert, if I want to do the opposite, if I want to go from decimal to percent, I have to, instead of divide, what do?
Can you just get rid of the zeros and then just be 45%?
Well, it does work. It doesn't work that way because it's not, technically you're multiplying by 100, right? That's what it, when to go from decimal to percent, you're going to have to multiply by 100, and that's going to be 4.5%. Okay? So anytime you're finding something in percentage, you must write that percent next to it. So we know that it's out of 100. So basically what you're doing here, if I can have your attention, what we're doing here is we're moving that decimal 2 units to the right. Okay?
Is that always the rule of thumb? So do you even have to do the calculation if you know?
If it's 100, there's 2 zeros in 100, right? Because there's 2 zeros in 100, that means you're going to move it 2 to the right.
Equals a place value, so then you can just assume that you don't have to do.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Right? Same with this. Your decimal is right here. You're moving it 2 units to the left. Because you're dividing by 100, and 100 has 2 zeros. If I want to write 45% as a fraction, how would I write it? 45 over 100. Okay? Remember, percent means out of 100. Are we okay with this? Okay, these are the only ones that I want to cover because these are the only ones that we're going to see in grade 11. Okay? So what I want you to do, can I see this for a second? What I want you to do is start with a worksheet, and I'm going to cover more lessons, but I want you to do some practice before I can move on to the next thing. So on the worksheet, you're going to do question number, and forget about without using a calculator. Just go ahead and use a calculator. Okay? You're going to do question number 1. Question number 3. You can try question number 4. Okay? To change it to a percent, you're going to have to find it in decimal and then multiply by 100. Okay? Question number 5 and question number 6. So the only one you're skipping is question number 2, and then 4 if you, I won't be testing you on that, or you won't see it again in this course. Okay? So what did I say? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then this one you can skip if you want.